Hi, everyone. I'm Chelsea Grayson, and this is another episode of What's Your Water? Today, I am honored to have Ameer Natson. Ameer is a celebrity chef. He's got a show that is airing on the Food Network any day now.
Yes.
And he is a faith leader and a community leader.
Absolutely.
And all sorts of other things that we're going to get into. He's cooked for Jay-Z and Beyonce, the Queen, cooked for Oprah.
Absolutely.
And I can't wait to get into all of that. So Ameer, welcome.
Super excited to be here, Chelsea. Thank you so much for having little old me, if you will. Right?
Little old you. You can't call yourself old because I've got like 10 years.
All right, so I'll say like little young me.
You're also not little. You're like 6 foot
Okay,
something.
big young me.
Just wrong on everything.
Super glad to be here. Super glad to be here with you. Yeah, absolutely.
So first, tell me about where we're shooting today. Where are we sitting?
Man, we are. It's amazing. I like to call this space manifestation. Because for a very long time, so we're here in Newark, New Jersey, which is where my movement is essentially based out of, in the brand, and the specific physical location that we're in is called Third Space. And so it is a new co-working community to the city of Newark. And for a very long time, I was very passionate about having a place for myself and the team to work out of. You know, that professional environment's just really important. And conducive, to just handling business and getting things done. And so I had no idea they were creating the space, but they connected with me and asked me to come on as an ambassador for the space. And it's been an amazing journey thus far. The family that owns the space is incredible, super supportive, and they believe in what we're doing as much as we do. So we're here and really, really excited to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm finding Newark to be different from what I expected. I'd never really spent any time in Newark other than just sort of landing because I'm usually on United. And
right, absolutely.
To the city, but it's been really nice. Everybody's been really welcoming, and you guys have been great hosts for me so far. So thank you. Yeah, I want to get into first because you had a really meteoric rise into becoming a celebrity chef. I mean, I want to talk about, you went to culinary school and kind of what happened after that, because within a year you were cooking for Beyonce and Jay-Z on the Amalfi Coast. So can you take me through that journey?
Yeah. So, early on in culinary school, one of my culinary instructors would use a phrase, and he would write it on the board every day. And that was bat 1,000 every day. Yeah. And, it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me early on in my educational period of my career. But the closer we got to completion, the more I understood how important it was, to give the game everything you've got every single time. And so I come out of culinary school. There is an opportunity made available to cook for a guy. His name was Gil Barnes. He was African-American brother who was a hedge fund manager and just like a financial advisor. Really interesting guy. He probably won't watch this, but if he does, he'll know I said that about him. He'll probably agree with me. But really, really amazingly interesting guy. And so he kind of took advantage of the fact that I was fresh out of culinary school. And so, he would talk about this opportunity and how big it's going to be. And we sat in his dining room at this long dining room table that sat 50. And he sat at one end as we kind of did the interview while I sat at the other end. And, he sold me on how big this opportunity would be. And, you just don't know who I am. And, I kind of was like, all right, dude, enough about, I'm here to do some personal chef work. So he had an event maybe 2 weeks later and had myself and 2 other chefs, unbeknownst to me, cater stations for the event just to kind of see who his guests responded to. And so I did a really simple dish, like a chicken breast stuffed with black olive and feta sun-dried tomato. And I think I did a roasted potato, really clean, pink Himalayan sea salt. And roasted potatoes were his all-time favorite. I didn't gauge him for what he liked. I just made what I knew I could knock out of the park. That Saturday, my station was empty and the other chef made some mushy rice. It was not risotto. It was just wet, mushy. It was Hawaiian rice. If he's watching, he'll thank me for mentioning him. But it was Hawaiian, mushy rice or whatever. So Gil gave me the opportunity. It was an hour commute every day from where I was.
Where was he living? Describe his.
So he lived in an area called the Cadwater section of New Jersey, which is a town like right outside of Trenton, New Jersey. And so like the governor lives there. There are just a ton of like beautiful, huge estates. And he had this like enormous home with like sunrooms. And then he also had a property in New York City, which was like this crazy townhouse. And he would live between those two spaces. And when I went to the townhouse in New York City, like infinity pools, waterfalls, like it was crazy in New York City.
In the city to find space like that.
It was literally like a 5-foot door off of Park Avenue. And you like walk into this door and it's this like 6-story townhouse and you have no idea that there's like a whole oasis in there.
Yeah.
And he was like really big into like Japanese art. And he had like $1 million swords. He was just a very interesting guy, who was a finance guy, right? So you can only imagine that he was not trying to honor me asking for a lot of money coming fresh out of culinary school, because he knew how to play the game and he was a thorough businessman. So anyway, I would go in with the same mindset out of culinary school, bat 1,000 every day. And so he would have clients either come to his home, whether we were in Jersey or at the townhouse in Manhattan. And like at the drop of a dime, he would say, add one for breakfast, or his house manager rather would say, add one for breakfast, add 2 for lunch, or, you know, tonight I'm having a dinner for 10. Can you add 10 people? And there wasn't room to like say no, because I had this black card. I had the Toyota Prius to drive, you know, to go to the market.
Chef's dream, right?
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
You can go buy as much fruit and vegetables and stuff as you want.
Totally. You know, I never threw a tenderloin in there for myself because he was a pretty thorough guy, but I probably should have.
Yeah.
So through my employment opportunity with him, and again, he was like the building ground for me. You know, working with him is where I learned how to maneuver around, you know, people's personalities and dispositions, right? You know, I learned how to, you know, really serve and take advantage of kind of like being in those spaces or those exclusive spaces. And so this one particular day, Matthew Knowles, Beyonce's father, comes, who's a client of his, and he's had everybody in the house at this point, from like Clive Davis. He's done work with Diddy. He's done like Kevin Lyles, Leo Cohen, like just really solid people in the music and sports industry. And I did not know who Matthew Knowles was. But again, like in culinary school, my goal was to bat 1,000, not some days, but every day. And so I've got a chef jacket that's embroidered, and I'm like taking this next level, you know, service into whatever room he's meeting with his client in, and super articulate and presenting the food and, you know, removing the covers and placing the forks and flatware in front of the guests and asking if they prefer a particular beverage. And so what I understood from the first few times I did it was how it lit his eyes up. Right. And while he didn't say to me, like when we interviewed early on, I need you to make me look good, and I need you to like help me shine, and I need you to, you know, provide me this crazy impressive service. You know, after having done it a few times, I understood how much he valued that. And so I'll never forget the day. I did like a sausage spring roll kind of situation with like an Asian dipping sauce, and so like the spring roll had egg and sausage and mushroom, and it was just a really amazing breakfast. And by the time I got back down, that was breakfast.
Okay.
Because I'm batting 1,000 every day. Right.
Okay.
I'm not spending my money to cook this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I'm investing, of course, my energy and my time, which he compensates me for. And so I'll never forget. I left out of his office and went back down into the kitchen. And he called me on the intercom. And whenever he did this, like I knew it was a moment, like that his guest was like, who the hell was that? You know? And so he called on the intercom, Chef Ameer, can you come back upstairs for a second? And I knew it wasn't because the food wasn't good, because I smashed that. But I would get back up, you know, and he would say, man, I want to introduce you to Matthew Knowles. This is Beyonce's father. And I was like, oh man, wow, you know, super, super dope. And he then said to me, my daughter's in need of a personal chef, and we've kind of just been working with per diem people, and I'd love for you, man, to kind of have the opportunity to present. So it was like just on from there.
Wow.
Yeah, it was on from there.
Okay, so a couple things I want to get into there.
Sure.
So, how your current boss, was he feeling a way about you potentially interviewing for a gig?
Right in front of him,
we'll
right?
Get there. Yeah, we'll get there. But tell me about the, I guess, audition process or what interview process when you go to Beyonce's house. I mean, how?
Yeah.
Tell me.
So I did not meet her the first 2 times, actually. They reached out to me probably about a month after her father said that he would make the referral. And, I didn't invest a lot of energy in him sharing the opportunity because, like, I still have work to do,
Yeah.
And you don't want to get funky before, like, you have another opportunity.
Right.
Because the Gil gig was sweet, And so they reached out and invited me to Houston. I flew out to beautiful property that B has there. And she was upstairs or wherever in the house. And so her assistant says to me that she'd like for you to make a strawberry Romanoff. And I was like, what the heck is a strawberry Romanoff? And so I Googled it. Thank God for Google. Shout out to the technical people over at Google. I Googled the recipe and smashed it. And so another month went by. I didn't hear anything.
Oh, wait, you can't just pass by that part of the story. Because
Totally.
First of all, that's baking, not cooking.
Exactly.
And even I don't do either one,
Sure.
I know there's a difference.
And so you understand, most people don't, including me, that the strawberry Romanoff is this Houstonian dish that is really just regional to the New Orleans, Houston, Texas, that whole bayou, if you will, area.
You can't fuck that up in that area.
Right, exactly. It's like not
That's
making remoulade correctly.
Hello. Exactly.
You
That's
understand?
exactly what I was about to say.
Absolutely. I knocked it out of the park. I put a light spin on it. And of course, it's got the heavy cream or the whipped cream rather. And so, it was, I'd never made it before. Right. But the one thing that just resonates in my mind, even till this day, is bat 1,000.
Yeah.
Right. Give it everything you have. And one of the things that have really worked for me in my career is I'd rather not show up than show up late. If you come to work late, the boss can hammer you about why you were late, rather than just not showing up at all. You could say, I couldn't get out of the bed.
Right.
And so many people, that phrase, better late than never, is false.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes you're just better off saying, I just can't make it, or can we reschedule, or let's give it another shot. So every day, regardless of what I did the night before, regardless of what I was feeling or where I was, I had to get up that next morning and bat 1,000.
So you make your strawberry Romanoff for Beyonce.
Yep.
You leave. And then what, a month goes
another
by?
month goes by. I don't hear anything. And so now I've got to go back to Gil's house. Gil's this interestingly funky guy. And so I'm not, I'm sure that Matthew shared with him, I invited Chef Ameer out, to kind of try out for the opportunity. And I only imagine that I'll walk in there on Monday and he's like, I don't need you anymore. But another thing that I learned that has really been a principle for my success, right, is I have always made myself indispensable, right? You can't, the day you say you don't need me anymore is the day the ship will sink. Mm-hmm. Period.
That's the day that they find out they need you.
That's the day they find out we really do need them.
Yeah.
And so I went hard every day in everything that I did, including making that strawberry Romanoff, which I had never, ever made before for B. So a month later, they call me and they're like, are you available for 90 days? We'd like to do kind of a temporary contract. And so I go in and then boom, it was on and popping from there.
So what did you do for the next 90 days? Is that you getting on a private jet? And
we did tons of flying on private jets. I led a crew on several occasions over that 90 days, on yachts out on the Mediterranean. And I mean, a lot of stuff that I had not done prior to, right? But sometimes you've got to learn on the job, you know? And one of the things that I brought to the table, I'm a kick-ass chef. Right, I'm gonna be the cussing pastor a little bit. Yeah, I'm a kick-ass chef.
Cuss on this show,
but the truth is, there are chefs that can run circles around me. Mm-hmm. There are chefs that are better at me as it relates to what we do in the kitchen, in the pots and pans. But there's some stuff that I bring to the table that those chefs couldn't even pay for. And so a lot of my opportunities have really been a result of the energy that I bring into your home, and of the energy that I bring into your kitchen, right? And so there's nothing like, your guests going, wait, does the chef that just passed me a plate like have a Rolex on? Like what's, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, that's Chef Ameer. Like he's really dope. And his food is like really incredible. And then it's just a vibe,
Yeah.
And I understand like that I am there to make you look good, not to make myself look good. And the more I did that, the more opportunities I got, and the more people were like, man, we'd love to have you do this and do that. And so it went from that to the Queen Latifahs and, the Will and Jadas, and just like doors just opened. And, people were like, the food is amazing, but like he is all the more amazing. And that's really the opportunity that I saw, and I capitalized on that.
So it's chefing as performance art, basically.
It certainly is. Absolutely. Right? It's art. I think I added the performance piece.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're exactly. I mean, you're right, because how dope do you look if not only you can afford a personal chef, but like he's wearing a Rolex.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? So like you're all in rarefied air when you're at that table.
Right.
And so do you ever, okay, so you're with Will and Jada, Queen Latifah. I mean, I think you worked for Oprah or
so we did Super Soul Sunday brunch in 2017.
Okay.
And how did she hear about you? And so I connected with Oprah. We were doing jerked brined turkeys for Thanksgiving one year. And she does this huge like Thanksgiving dinner where she invites family and friends over, and she ordered some of the turkeys. And I had no idea who it was that ordered them. At the time, Mayor Cory Booker was here in Newark. Shout out to our maybe soon to be president, who knows. And so Cory Booker was here, and Oprah's done a lot of like development here in the city.
Yeah.
And they were having dinner at an Airbnb, or I don't know if it was an Airbnb, but at a residence that they rented in like Upper Essex County. And so Cory connected me with Gail. And then I didn't even realize who she was. I just knew somebody wanted like 6 grilled jerk turkeys. And so we went to deliver them, and it was like Oprah and her whole gang, which was really, really dope. So from there, they invited me out to manage 3 stations for Super Soul Sunday brunch, which was amazing. And so I managed the carving stations. And then we did like a seafood station, and so just raw oysters and seafood, and you can imagine, how incredible that was out in Santa Barbara.
So Super Soul Sunday, forgive me for not knowing exactly what that is.
So it's a brunch that Oprah's done for like the last 6 years, maybe 7, where she just invites just like the who's out. So the year that we were there, John Legend performed. I mean, he's literally like at the piano singing himself, You'll see Michelle Obama there. You'll see the Beyoncés there. You'll see the Maya Angelou's. I mean, she just brings together like the who's of the universe to like have brunch in her backyard. The year that I did it, Eckhart Tolle was there, and he kind of like spoke some inspirational words. So she just like, uses her influence to bring people together in the vineyard, in her property, like in the backyard. Yeah. Food is amazing. The energy is incredible. And everybody is just like.
So it's kind of like Sunday service in a way.
So it is kind of like a Sunday service a little bit. Yeah.
Got it.
Not so much Kanye-ish, but like more,
Yeah. Well, he didn't invent Sunday service. I think that's been going on for a minute.
Right, exactly. Tell me about Sunday service, right?
Times.
Exactly.
And I want to get there too, because it's interesting. I hadn't realized you had done that with her, but it definitely crosses over into the other part of your life, which I think you're crossing over with all the time into your food anyways.
Absolutely.
You said something to me about something else that you're bringing to the table when you're serving people.
Yeah.
You said they might not know it, but you're bringing Jesus.
Oh, right.
You're bringing the Bible, and they might not realize it, but that's why they're picking up the good vibe from it, which I thought was a really interesting.
It's funny. I can't remember the time that I was like in someone's kitchen, and I forget who was there, and they were like, "Oh, did you know he's like a reverend as well?" Or like, he's a minister.
Right.
And like, I don't remember who that was, but the person was like, I knew it was something about you. Like, I just knew it. Like, you just, I don't know. They probably had tried to rub me a wrong way a few times, just testing out the team.
Biting.
And I wasn't biting. I didn't respond. I was like, and so I might have been Queen Latifah or I can't remember, but they were like, I just knew it was like, why didn't you tell me that?
Yeah.
And I was like, baby, I've been praying for you in this kitchen like the whole time I've been here.
Oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I love that.
I mean, it's when we talk about the religion piece, or more spirituality than anything, right? You bring a level of peace, and it brings, like it's just a glue, and our lives are not going to come together like unless we've got that glue.
Right.
The pieces of the puzzle don't come together, unless you've got, that power that's greater than you that can, kind of help you translate. The puzzle pieces look crazy just scattered on the table. But when you bring them together, like they make sense. Each ridge and curve and cut, so that's kind of one of the things that we brought, to the table. Like I was the guy that could say to, we did an event over the summer last year for Queen Latifah, and she was just like running around and just all over the place. And so like, I'm the guy who says like Dana, you need to slow down. I know, chef, but no. Like just right here, it's a lobster tail and a lamb chop. Just put it in your mouth.
Yeah.
And just eat, because you'll get famished and you'll get overwhelmed. And so it's just that energy, and just like in that quick moment, it's like, wow, man, this guy is like not just here to like get the bag, but he's like here to impact, and kind of make a difference. And so when people started to learn that about me, it kind of became like, chef, can you come here for a minute? And I'm like, what's up? Like the food is laid out. This is my turn to chill, and they're like, do you mind blessing the food really quickly? And all I know to say at the end of prayer is in Jesus' name, and so like we pray and I'm like, God, we thank you for everyone that's at the table, and it's only because of you that we're successful, and it's only because of your favor that we've made it, and they're in the room like, yes, hallelujah, thank you, Jesus, and and in Jesus' name, and they're like, in Jesus' name. And you always get one person at the table who's like, I'm like a devout atheist.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whatever.
Well, that's okay too.
Yeah, which is fine. Yeah, totally. Yeah. But that power, like you can't combat like that energy in the room. Yeah. There's no way around that. Like when the spirit or whatever you identify it as, like when that thing moves and you get like goosebumps and like you feel something outside of you moving inside of you, there's no way around. Like you got to acknowledge that thing is in the room, and so, that's kind of where the turn happened.
Yeah. So they know you're there not to nourish their bodies, but also to nourish their
their souls, hands down.
Which is beautiful. So is that how the Food Network sort of came to you with the idea to do, because your show is family dinner style, right?
Yes.
You sort of travel around the country or maybe ultimately around the world, and you're putting family dinners together.
Yes.
So is that, I mean, I guess you guys went through some iterations, but is that how they ultimately came up with the idea? Because that's sort of what you were doing anyways. You were asking people to kind of join hands and
so we started out
like that, or?
We started out
what's the name of the show?
Help Yourself.
Help Yourself, okay.
Which of course just kind of like means so many different things. But we started out with an original concept called Deep Fried Food Fight. And so it was new school versus old school. And it was like me as a chef going around the country competing against new school chefs. And I mean, it was cool. But in the opening of the show, I say, my name is Ameer and I'm a pastor and a chef. And so, after it goes through tons of like creatives' heads and hands, they're kind of like, man, we need to play on like the spiritual piece. And I'll never forget, we shot at Augie's in Saratoga Springs, New York, and I had to come in and do a voiceover for the introduction. And they said to me that there are two things that sold them on this project. And it was your smile and your big evangelical voice. And I was like, did y'all say evangelical voice? Like y'all want Jesus, and like it made sense, in that moment. And it was one of those like, wow, God, like you did this. This is not about me. I had no aspirations to do television. I had never done it before, news and, TV pieces and that kind of thing. But like my aspirations were not to like land a show on TV.
Yeah.
But through that and me embracing it, I didn't, I could have very easily been like, I don't want to talk about, I'm not here for that, but I just let the universe and the energy do what it does. And so it developed. Yeah.
So are you having fun with that? I mean, do you like going out there and shooting the episodes?
It's fun, 16 hours, do this again, say that like that again, do that, it's a lot. I think we were talking a little bit that, television is not the big break. It's just a platform, know? And so the real work happens where you got to be willing to hustle, kind of like an artist. The record deal is nothing, but it's your ability to do shows and, create products and develop content outside of your record deal, that kind of takes you to that next level.
Yeah, using it as your launching platform.
Yeah, use it as, the notoriety.
We keep referring to this like mythical conversation that we had previously. This conversation was last night when I got here.
Yes,
where I was
dinner.
I was exhausted. I get up, for people who know me, I get up at 4 a.m. and work out at 5. And so I had a really long day flying in from Los Angeles yesterday.
Yes.
But I got here and Anthony and Ameer invited me to go to dinner. So how do you say no to a chef when he invites you to dinner? That's going to be really good. And we went to Brasilia here, Brasilia Grill here in Newark.
Yes.
Very amazing. I'd never had Brazilian food somehow.
How about that brisket though?
That brisket was crazy. This is, what do you call the style of food that they do
Rodizio.
there? Rodizio. So it's just,
yeah.
They
could have kept bringing food. Like they took it easy on us because we only ordered like brisket and chicken or whatever.
That was crazy.
But like they'll just keep bringing the food. You got to tell them to stop, dude. That is enough. Like, how about those collard greens?
Anthony out for sure.
For sure.
Like he was done. He was like, I can't
food
anymore.
left on the plate, right?
Yeah. And we had caparena.
Yes.
I'm not proud of myself, but I had 2. They each only had 1.
You deserve it.
Strawberry.
You earned it.
And that's where this conversation happened last night, which is appropriate because most of the best conversations happen at the dinner table.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so
that sounds really interesting. We might have to like develop that.
There might have to be a show.
Yeah, the dinner table piece. I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you there. We'll talk about that offline at the next dinner.
I agree.
So we're not really getting away from food because you infuse your cooking into everything, but you're a faith leader also. So you talked about is it a preacher, reverend? How do you characterize yourself?
Traditionally a pastor or a reverend or preacher.
Okay.
And so like I lead, a pastor would be someone that leads a particular like body of people, or like a shepherd to sheep, if you will.
Yeah.
And so pastor would be, the more traditional title. I like to identify myself as like a faith influencer.
A faith influencer, okay.
While religion is great, and there are a million different forms of it, right? At the end of the day, it's about having a connection with your higher power, right? And so whether it's Islam or Judaism or Buddhism, right, or Christianity, it really boils down to how connected you are, right? And it doesn't matter what way you believe, what you believe, but like, do you believe,
Yeah.
And so that's my position and or approach. There are those that don't and see it from a different perspective, and that's fine. We still eat rodizio together, and have caparenas.
Oh, sure.
And so we respect that totally. But my position is, and it's interesting. I was raised in Islam. My name is Ameer.
Oh, okay.
And so my father was Muslim. Growing up, we practice Islam. Like I can read and write Arabic and everything. In fact, my middle name is Akbar, so my name is Ameer Akbar.
Wow, okay.
To even going a few inches further. But I found my footing in Christianity. I needed a savior. Just the thought of having access, to God through someone that kind of stood in our stead and took our place, if you will, was very powerful for me. Again, there are a ton of different forms of belief and as it relates to that. And I'm respectful and receptive to all of them. But that's what did it for me.
So how old were you when you figured that out, and what did your family think about it?
So at 7, so my grandfather was the bishop of a church, pastor, and then like a bishop is a leader of like a regional manager, if you will. He had churches that were under him in addition.
So it's not a chess piece, because I think about everything with chess, and I have a bishop, so not a chess piece. Okay.
But we're kind of similar, because the king, I guess, would be like an archbishop, like the ruler of like exactly. But a bishop is just over like a particular body and then other bodies within that region. And so somewhere around the age of like 16, I just had this like epiphany, and God was like, or the Spirit of God was like, I've gifted you to do many things, but I created you with a purpose. And in that moment, I was like, I hear you. And so I went to my grandfather, who was a great man of God, and he said to me, pray about it and be sure. And I was like, pray about it and be sure, dude. Like, I just told you, like, I heard God. Like, what he knew, I learned probably 30 years later, was that if God did not really call you, and if you heard a voice because it was popular, or if you think because you see the glamour of me being a pastor or leader as something you aspire to do, this thing will beat you up, it will chew you up, and it will spit you out, right? Taking on the responsibility of leading people and building people and cultivating people and encouraging and inspiring and literally like dedicating your life service, to the well-being of other people, if you're not called to it, you'll quit like first 90 days on the job,
Right.
And so I accepted the call then, if you will. And, focused on culinary for a while, of course, as my career. And it swung back around once I had succeeded in culinary. In fact, I share the testimony of how I was driving. I did a segment on BET in Washington, D.C. Never forget it. And I was in my Ford Transit Connect, which is like this little, like, it's like, they make those mini versions of like the conversion vans. They're like little cute, like, conversion vans with no windows, just the doors or whatever. Like, God, this sounds good, but like, wrong dude. Like, I'm in the height of my career. I'm cooking for the who's who's. Yeah. I just came from BT. I'm chilling. I got a bag, and
it's not convenient.
Yeah, it's just not convenient, right? But like, obedience is better than sacrifice. And so I called my then assistant Tanya on the phone, and I said, Tanya, can you call the Cityplex movie theater and like, let's try to connect and make a connection. Shaquille O'Neal owns the theater. We've got a relationship with him. Like, we need somewhere, because now I'm like, okay, God, if I do this, I can only do it under one condition. Like, I gotta be dope.
Yeah.
Right. I need to be able to be Ameer.
Like you said, you bat 1,000 every time you
like
go
I
to
need
the
to
plate.
be able to bat 1,000. Like, I cannot be in some old cathedral that smells like mildew water, like trying to be dope and draw people to cry. Like, there are people like me who need you, and they need to know that like you can be dope and still love God. Like, you can be dope. They need to be inspired, right? And like, environment is very important. So she called the movie theater and, was like, oh, work with celebrity chef Ameer, and he's got a relationship with Shaquille O'Neal. We'll reach out to him as well. But, we wanted to go through the channels of management. And the young lady that answered the phone was like, oh, we're not interested, but we'll take your information. So I was like, yes, God, like, you already know.
Yeah.
Like I heard you. I tried it. Yeah. It did not work. So it's not on me. Talk to Shaquille O'Neal or somebody.
It's so good to hear that even people like you, as spiritually lofty as you are, you still kind of want to shirk out everyone.
Are you kidding me?
Right?
So, but look, like, Jesus said,
human.
Absolutely. Jesus says, like, on his way to the cross, he says, like, God, if it be your will, like, let this cup pass me by. And Jesus is like, God manifested in the form of flesh. Yeah. And Jesus says, like a few days before, like, the crucifixion, like, God, do you think we can kind of just
work out a compromise?
Right. Like, can I just, and all of that. Like, it was the most human moment of his life. I
didn't know that.
Okay. Yeah. He says, like, if it be not your will, that you let this cup pass me by. And, in that moment, he goes, now, you know what? I have a job to do. I came here for a purpose, and I've got to complete the mission. And it's not about me. It's about mankind. It's not about me, because I'm God manifested in the form of flesh. It's about sinners. It's about people that will need access to you, even though sin has disconnected them from you, And so he went through with this like grueling, like whole Passion of the Christ movie process, if you will. And so that was like, that was that moment for me where I was like, God, can't we just,
they said,
can't somebody else do it?
This is an easy out.
Yeah. So my assistant Tanya says to me, she's also a very spiritual woman. She says, Chef, may I? And I was like, sure, Tanya, like, go. And she was like, God told me that you're supposed to call. And I was like, shucks. So that morning I got back to Jersey on like a Friday. That Saturday morning I went to the movie theater at like 9 a.m. It was an outer body. I was just moving. I went to the movie theater like 9 a.m. in the Transit Connect. I pull up to the theater. I walk to the door, and I don't even know what time the theater opens. But like the manager comes to the door. I stand there for like 15 minutes because they probably are like, this is just somebody else trying to get into the movies first in line or something. So the woman comes to the door and she says, can I help you? And I'm like, I'm the lead pastor of the Better Life Church. There was no Better Life Church.
You made it up right there.
Everything I'm saying is God, I promise you. I'm the lead pastor of the Better Life Church, and we're looking for a place to rent, like to worship. And she was like, let me give you the manager's card. This right here is going to blow, like this is going to blow your mind. And so she says, do not call him on the weekends. Like he doesn't work on the weekends. His name is Frank. Like if you call him on the weekends, you'll rub him the wrong way. Like it's over. I get in the van and the Spirit says to me, call now. And I go, okay, God, like whatever. If this blows it. The woman just said, don't do it. I call the guy on the phone, and when he answers the phone, he's crying. Frank is like this gentle giant. He's a Hispanic guy. He's got to be like 6'4". At one point, he probably was like 400 pounds. He like went and did the surgery, lost a ton of weight or whatever. And he answers the phone crying. And I go, hey, Frank, how are you? This is Pastor Ameer. And he says, oh, man. He says, it had to be God for you to call me right now because I'm on my way to a friend of 20 years funeral. And I just can't get myself together. And I was like, Frank, can we like pray right now? And he was like, please, Pastor. And I was like, Father God, in the name of Jesus, and I just started praying. And he was like, pal, can you come and meet me on Monday? Like, I want to meet you. And from there it was on. And then we made connections with Shaq. He approved it and was like, all day, let's do it. Like, I know Chef Ameer.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was a pastor, but if this is what he's saying God has called him to do. And it's been on and popping ever since.
It's kind of amazing because you could have just called Shaq and he probably would have bypassed the whole process. But it's kind of cool that you're not so anarchistic, you know? I mean, you broke the rule and called Frank, but I mean,
absolutely.
You went through the proper channels and you actually did the work to get there. And so by the time it got to Shaq, he was sort of like, okay, I respect that process.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you know Shaq? You guys grew up together? Or
so he's from Newark, New Jersey, actually. And we've just done a ton of like community work. I've done like some personal chef work on 1 or 2 occasions with him and the family. So just kind of like that Newark connection, if you will.
There's a lot of people from Newark, I'm learning.
Just like really this northern New Jersey area. Whitney Houston's from here. Wyclef Jean is from here. Shaquille O'Neal is from here. Faith Evans is from here. Lauryn Hill is from here. Yeah, like I could go on for days.
Yeah, like we passed the Grammy Museum. On the way
Joe Buttons is from here.
Joe Buttons? Oh yeah, that's right. He lives here.
Yeah, he actually lives in Jersey City.
I know that. Okay. Yep. All right.
Yeah, so, you know, it's just been on ever since.
Yeah.
And every now and again, I'm like, God, why did you tell me to do this? Like,
no, you love it. You love it. So you have your own Sunday service now in that movie theater.
In that movie theater.
That you do. And then, but you also do you actually brought your cooking over to that side of things too, right?
Absolutely.
Because you talk to me about how you bring and prepare food. I think you had a kids event that you've done, or you do regularly a program with them.
So we've done like a kids cooking camp. You know, I'm very passionate about. So the name The Better Life Church like really stemmed. God gave me that name. I was like, should we call it like Impact Church? Should we call it like Victory Christian Center? Like, you know, and God was like, just call it like The Better Life Church, because like everybody needs a better life. Like if you're rich, you want to bet. Like the one thing that everybody in the world aspires to have is a better life. And we don't just focus, you know, or the ministry does not just focus on like that one side, the spiritual religious piece, you know, but like better financially, better physically, better mentally. There's something that I kind of articulated not long ago, and that was bridging the gap between theology and psychology, right? That there are people like that just have mental health issues, you know, and we could pray for them and lay hands on them and throw oil and water, but like they just struggle mentally, you know? And so while faith is theology, you know, actually understanding the mental and the psyche and, you know, how to meet people's needs, not just from the perspective of like, just pray about it and give it to Jesus. Right. Like, no, there's like a glitch in my mind that like I need help on. And so we focus on like the total man, if you will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because so you have all sorts of programs or resources that you point people towards. Yep. So it's kind of a holistic way of approaching the people in your congregation.
Holistic is a perfect way to describe it. Yeah.
Yeah. So how big is your congregation at this point?
So we've grown a few hundred people at this point. Yeah, we started out like with nobody.
When was that you started again?
Easter Sunday of 2018.
Yeah, I mean, that's a year basically.
Literally, it's been 14 months. And I mean, the people just keep coming. The experience is amazing. You know, it's a free place. For me, it's really about people being able to be free and just connect with God. You know, even if you don't connect with me, like I'm okay with that. Like, I'm just the conduit. Like, I bring God, I bring you. You know, Chelsea meet God, God meet Chelsea. Bam. Like, you know, let's work it out.
Yeah.
And so that's my vision, you know, and that's our purpose, if you will.
So your grandfather was a bishop, but the rest of your family, I guess your immediate family, they were with Islam,
on
right?
my mother's side, right?
Islamic.
So that was my mother's father.
Yeah.
My father's side of the family. Actually,
Muslim.
his mother was Catholic, interestingly. Yeah.
But he practiced.
But he practiced Islam, absolutely.
So do you have family members, though, that come to your...
I do. I mean,
Sunday,
my father's a major supporter of ministry.
Okay. So he's good with all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Early on, it was like, my son ain't about to be no Christian. And I was like, Dad, this is who I am, man. And you know, he challenged me on it, but I was steadfast in what I believed. And so like now he's kind of like, I didn't know all of this would come from it. I guess you really are, you know.
Yeah, you really did get
and he
called.
Loves it. He's like, Pastor. And I'm like, Dad, you know.
But you have a cool story about it, because I know your dad means a lot to you.
Absolutely.
Your dad also, like your grandfather, taught you a lesson very early on that also impacted you. Can you tell me the hot dog stand story?
Oh, God. Maybe like, I don't know, 10 blocks up from here in like what they call the Clinton Hill section of Newark. My father owned a beauty salon. And one day he said to me, I'm going to teach you how to be an entrepreneur. And I was like, let's do it. I'm down. And I just knew it meant make money. You know, he was always big on like on the sign of the beauty salon. It said his name and proprietor. And I could remember as a kid pulling up and like trying to like pronounce proprietor. And he would say proprietor. It means owner. And I'm like, why didn't you just put owner? But he was just, everything was just like, you know, that next level. And so he went and brought like, you know, the small hot dog cart, and we stocked it with buns and hot dogs and what have you. And I'll never forget that first day we ran out of food. Like the community came out and like brought the hot dogs, and I would like take my time wrapping them in the wax paper and like rolling the ends and like tucking it. Cause who wants to open like the hot dog wrapping and the chili and cheese is like not on the hot dog, or like the sauerkraut is all over the place. And
again, batting 1,000 every time.
Batting 1,000.
His performance art.
Period.
Like in you that young.
You got it. You see what I'm saying? And so I remember one time my father came out and he was like, watch out, you're moving too slow. And the people were like chanting, let little man make my hot dog. I'll never forget that moment. And my father was like, I'm sorry. It got out of the way. And so I go inside and I'm like, Dad, like we sold out of everything. We don't have hot dogs. We don't have buns. We don't have anything. And so he like leans back in his chair and he says to me, well, how much money did you make? And I'm like, dude, and my father was like a thorough guy. Like he would break a broomstick on my behind. Like he was just a solid man. And, you know, I'm like kind of in my head, like, bruh, why are you worrying about how much money I made? Your hot dog cart needs more hot dogs and buns. And so that was like my first lesson in entrepreneurship and how important it is to reinvest into your business and, you know, those kind of things. So we went to the best hot dog factory, which was literally like right down Avon Avenue. Yeah. And we brought hot dogs and buns. Like I was already thinking of what I was going to buy with the money. Like Space Jam was out at the time. Yeah. I was thinking about like whatever those Jordans were, you know, and like just doing me. And while I wasn't able to do it on that Monday, like by the end of the week, I had reinvested enough and made enough profit that I was able to treat myself to something. Yeah. Well, that next summer, like I hired two of my friends, Anthony and Antoine, who were twins. And so they worked the hot dog cart. My father was like, you need to add something to the business now. And so we brought an icy cart. And so like long before, like there were women all over corners in America selling ices, we had like a small box icy cart. And another entrepreneurial moment or teachable moment, the ice kept melting. So the ice melts, the ices melt. Like product is done. You can't refreeze the stuff. It's over. And so my father is like, we were buying ice like every minute, and we were buying more ice than we were making money. And so we were like cutting into the hot dog money to keep this icy cart going.
You're like, how do people do this?
And so I'm like, right, because somebody's doing it. And so my father said to me, he said, you need to do some research. And I discovered dry ice.
There you go.
And so I was like, Dad, I think I found it. And I found a dry ice place here in Norco, Freelahyson Avenue. And that was like the solution to the icy. And so it was me, Anthony, and Antoine. My father was not concerned about throwing a football with me. Like, we didn't shoot basketballs. Boxing was his thing. But he was like bent on investing in me an entrepreneurial spirit. And so it's been with me ever since.
When do you have to stop boxing with your dad? Because at some point they get old and then...
Yeah, well, you know, when we see each other, it's always like, hey, what's up? You know, one of those shimmy jimmy kind of things. Boxing is not my thing. I mean, I can defend myself on the way out of like privé after like a long night, but I'm not a boxer at all.
That's good. Totally. I tried boxing for a minute and then I was like, my knuckles all big. And it's like, that's what happens when you box. I'm like, no, not for me, fam. I'll be stopping boxing because I like jewelry and stuff.
Yeah, and we need our hands to like, you know, be together and stuff. Yeah.
So, we talked also a little bit about your definition of faith, and you've like skirted around it a little bit in this conversation, this idea that God doesn't want you to change. He wants to amplify what he already sees in you, like how he made you, right? And this idea of people having the confidence, you know, to do the things that they were meant to do.
Yes.
And so can you talk about your definition of faith a little bit, or how you like to imbue people with
it's
the
funny.
faith
We kind of hit it just a little bit last night at our mystery dinner.
But I'd never heard anybody define faith in the way you defined it. So I'm crazy enough to go out on the limb, probably not very crazy in that, but to really say that, like, you know, the significance of faith from a spiritual perspective is less about God and like more about us, right? And so God, because when you really look at it, like in the grand scheme of things, God doesn't need us. You know, the Bible says that he created man, you know, to create something to worship him, right? And, you know, of course, you go into like the story of Noah's Ark and how man did not do what God created them to do. And, you know, God says, I'm just going to destroy mankind. But faith is really about building or conditioning a muscle in us, right? It's like a spiritual muscle that's necessary for us to go to that next level in life. And it doesn't matter who you are, what your stature is, how strong or like, you know, successful you've been up until this point. Everyone gets to a point of their lives where like your faith is shaky, you know, where it's just like, I woke up this morning and I believed I could do it. And like, I'm at the start line and like, I don't think I'm going to win. Yeah. And so like, God creates this relationship between us and him. And it's really built on the auspices of us believing in him. But it's really about us strengthening ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. And so you believe in a power greater than you and its ability, you know, to push you or to carry you or to strengthen you, you know, to do like those galactic things that you only dream about. And then you discover that like, wow, like I believe in me more, like because I've been like forced to have to believe in a power greater than me. Right. You know, and even for people who like really don't believe, like let life get a little challenging and you'll be like, oh my God, you know, somebody told a joke one time about a guy who didn't believe and like life got crazy and he was like, oh my Jesus. And they were like, you don't even believe it. You know? Oh my God, you know. I do now. Right, exactly. Yeah. So faith is really about us. Yeah. You know, it's really about us, you know, finding that place in us, that thing in us to hope. You know, President Barack Obama wrote the book, The Audacity of Hope, right? Like, who are you to believe in that thing in you that you don't even know exists? Yeah. And if we could build it based on our own like merit or on ourselves, we would have done it already. Yeah. And so the fact that God says, like, believe in me, like pray and I'll answer a prayer. Faith is defined in both the Webster Collegiate Dictionary and in the Bible as the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Mm-hmm.
So God says, I create a space through all of this, from sin in the garden to Jesus coming and the crucifixion and the resurrection. Like, it's all at the end of the day about you finding hope, right? And aspiration to believe in your own ability to like achieve the stuff that you've dreamed about and to reach the places that you've like seen in your dreams and that you've seen in visions. But if it was based on your own ability, it won't happen, because that it's just not naturally in us. Like, we doubt ourselves, whether we admit it or not, from children, right? The baby has some courage, but the baby's afraid to like get up and make that move. But like faith kicks in. Right. And you get to witness that baby take its first steps, because it just hopes to walk. The baby's just tired of watching everybody else in the house walk, and like, I've got to crawl and pull on a table and get up, and so it's about hoping. Yeah. And we're not born with hope. Yeah. It's just not something, that's in us. It's something that we build. Yeah. It's something that we strengthen. It's something that we develop. And so I believe, I'm like really persuaded that God is like, I want you to get this, because it's really not about me. Like, I separated the night from the day. Like, as much as we say there is not, I think I said last night, we credit Steve Jobs for creating the computer, but like, who created this computer? Right. Like, this joint is crazy. Like, the computer is dope, but like the fact that like my muscles and my nerves and my eyes and the way my brain processes and like, I can't credit that to science.
Right. Yeah. You made this really cool analogy between the number of pixels in a picture. And it's so amazing whoever created that, but then the pixels that exist in the universe.
Absolutely. Or like your eyeball, right? Like, we credit Sony for creating the 5,000 megapixel camera, but like the eyeball is like 500,000 megapixels.
Right. And it just works.
And it just works. So like, who created that, And so I just really believe. And so as a faith influencer, like, my ultimate goal is to get people to believe in themselves and to believe in their ability to do, like, because you connect to the battery pack. Like the life of your battery only lasts but so long. It goes from 100% to 1, and then that little circle starts and it's over, And so like, you've got to have that external source. You've got to have, and traditionally for a long time, religion was about rigor and structure and rules and religion. And so that's where people struggle. But we're in a place now where God is like, I just want you to know that like, I want life to be like really good for you. Jesus says to a group of people in the parable, I did not just come so that you would have life, but he said, I came that you would have life more abundantly. And like, that's what God wants. Like, he wants us to be successful. He wants us to win. Like, he is for us. He's not against us. And even for me, growing up in church, it was like, I don't want to meet the God who sits on the throne with a lightning bolt. Like, and if I like pick up a glass of wine, he's like, you are going to go to hell if you come. Yeah. Like, no, God is like, listen, dude, like, it's grapes fermented. Like, it's all good. Paul says wine is good for the stomach, And so, and with everything, like, it's about it being done in good measure, right? Eating too much food could like jam you up, Yeah. And so it's about doing things with good measure and just being a good person and, committing like your life to understanding that there's a power greater than me, and I can be greater if I connect with that greater power. Yeah. And every day, I mean, there are times I'm just riding in the car and like tears just fall out my eyes, because I'm like, God, nobody could have done this but you.
Yeah, I mean, your life is so rich and full. So you speak to God every day. Obviously, that's one of the things you do religiously, no pun intended.
Yes.
Or dialoguing with God, whatever you want to call that.
Absolutely.
What are because I like to ask people what are the 3 things they sort of do daily or weekly to kind of re-energize or reignite themselves every day and keep going, because life can be really hard. Even though it should also be very enjoyable. I firmly believe. Yeah. What are a couple of other things that you do regularly on the daily?
So praying for sure is just a daily, and it's funny because when life happens and like things are going on and you're just kind of moving and shaking, like throughout the course of your day, you kind of pause for a moment and you're like, thank you, God, for opening another door. Like, but imagine what your personal relationship with your spouse would be like if you only in passing said, hey, thanks, and like, there'd be some infidelity real early on in the relationship, because like we don't spend time together and we don't communicate and we don't talk. Like, let's go grab a bite to eat.
Absolutely.
Like, how was your day, And
I can tell you, having been once divorced, and now with somebody I consider to be the love of my life, I learned so many lessons along that. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, totally. This is what we want. But this is what we're doing.
But I think appreciating your partner and saying that to that partner, I think that's everything for the relationship. Sorry, so go on.
No, it's the foundation. So prayer is certainly just a very important part of the day, and I commit myself every day, to investing in someone, like beyond, I fed a homeless person today. Like, that's cool. And like, God is not impressed with deeds, but I am very conscious that I say something every day or do something every day that like gives someone the hope, like to hope and to like just go after that stuff and to like to just dream, Diddy shared something one time with me and I was like, I'm stealing that. And he said, like, I'm just here to prove that it can be done, And so, like, we're not hiding from the challenges. Like, we're not hiding from the obstacles and, the mountains we had to climb and the valleys that we had to come out of. Like, I'm a testimony of, like, life after life, and how you can get back up and rise above where you were and be successful beyond the things that you face. So, prayer certainly would be one, just imparting with someone, throughout the course of the day. And I try to support someone's business every day.
Okay.
And so, or not try to, in fact, I do that. So, whether it's me buying a cup of coffee from a place that I've never been to before, or, buying a taco from somewhere that I've never been, like that's really important for me. Because as an entrepreneur, I understand, like, I could go to the same place every day, but I love to go somewhere new and share with them what, as a consultant, I make thousands of dollars for doing ways that they can improve their business, right? And just small things that they can do, to enhance their customer experience, right? And so the taco was cold. Maybe you should heat it up or do this or do that. And to do it in a very compassionate way where people don't feel like you're tearing down their business and, coming at, their venture or their dreams. And so those are like the three things that I commit to doing. Yeah.
Yeah. That last part is interesting. Just the idea that, because I think everything's sort of an energy exchange.
Yeah, absolutely.
In this universe, and so when you go in and even though you might be the only sale they had all day, but you might be that spark that creates that next wave of energy for them.
Yeah, because you don't know when they're when they want to give up.
More people might come in. Right. Exactly. Yep, so I have one last question for you.
Totally.
So you've spotted a lot of trends and maximized on all of those opportunities. I mean, only one of which is what we talked about a lot, which is the idea of chefing, as performance art, and the way that you started to interact with your clients.
Absolutely.
And then they drew upon that energy, and I firmly believe that is exactly why the Food Network came and scouted you for the show.
Absolutely.
And I think that's also why you got that call to start your congregation.
Absolutely.
Because somebody out there was seeing what you could do for a broader audience.
Absolutely.
In terms of nourishing the soul.
Yes.
So I know you too. I mean, you're doing a whole bunch of other stuff. You're looking at a bunch of other things. You're never sitting still for not 1 second.
Absolutely.
You're the most
Renaissance man.
Yeah, you are a Renaissance man, and you move more than anybody I know. You're never just sitting there. There's activity constantly around you.
Absolutely.
So, what are the next things you're seeing? What's the next opportunity you're spotting? What's next for you? What are you working on?
There's the idea of like planting churches, and like just creating this experience like around the world. But I think that where we are in like the digital age, I would really love to kind of, I guess, expound more on like making the experience that I provide to celebrities and to athletes in the A-list of the world, just for people who may not necessarily have resources or just money, right? But are like on the verge of committing suicide, like, or just can't seem to find hope. And I meet so many people every day that are like, I go to churches and they look at me crazy. So I just walk out and I'm like, I might as well just go get like a 6-pack of beer. Like, what the heck? In whatever like religion and whatever genre of spirituality, and connect and like be inspired and really just like bridge the gap, between all of that stuff, different brilliant men said, let me create this form of religion, or, let me create this whatever. And it has divided more than it has brought together. And so my next project, I got to be very careful how I say that, because we'll end this and I'll go start working on it, is really going to be to create that common space, where people can come together, an app where if you just want to do a good deed, you just want to serve, you wake up on a Saturday, and you're I just want to go buy some old woman groceries, or some woman who's bedridden groceries, or I just want to go make dinner for a family in their kitchen. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care that there are bugs. I don't I just want to be a blessing to someone. And so that's one of the things that I'm really passionate about creating in this next season.
Right. I love that.
Just generosity more than anything, and compassion, and just creating a space where the world can just be kinder and more grateful, and show more gratitude and all that good stuff. So
but it's still the name of your congregation, Better Life.
It's about better life.
Giving somebody a better life.
Absolutely.
Right, and kind of paying it forward.
Yep.
So Ameer Natson.
Yes.
Your congregation is called the Better Life
Church.
Yes. Your show is called
Help Yourself
on the Food Network.
Yes.
I'm just waiting for that to air, because I'm going to be watching every single one, every single episode.
We have to add brisket. We're easier to that.
You've got all sorts of celebrities you're still cooking for, but I'm sure you won't tell us who, and you're definitely not going to invite me over, so I won't even.
Of course we will.
I won't drill down on that.
We've got to add Chelsea Grayson to that list.
Yes. You've got a couple of books. What are your books?
Yes. So the one book that we released, 10 Days to Becoming a Better You, Challenge Yourself, I Dare You. So the original revision was 10 Days to Becoming a Better You. Second version was Challenge Yourself, I Dare You. So, it was if you read the first one, this one's going to knock your socks off. It's going to get you out the bed. It's going to get you out of that comfort zone, that complacent, space. And then we have the cookbook, A Soulful Thanksgiving, which is 101 holiday recipes that we release only in the holiday season. And then we're working on a children's cookbook called Kids Can Cook Too.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, so that'll be releasing soon. So I'm super excited about that.
And you're on Instagram at Ameer Natson.
At AmeerNatson.com. Facebook, Twitter, all of our handles are consistent at AmeerNatson.com as well.
And you've got the coolest logo. You guys have to go check it out. I don't know who designed that logo for you, but it's on everything, including your Mercedes, the Mercedes, the Sprinter that you had me picked up in. I was like, damn, he's got a branded Sprinter. That's dope.
Jesus paid it all.
All right, I'm going to convert right away.
No, super dope.
I'm Jewish.
It's funny, real quick, as we're on the way out, I posted a picture. I was at an event that Hennessy was hosting.
Okay.
And I had on a leopard polo shirt, real swaggy, real dope.
Yeah.
And so my caption was, I don't know how much I owe, but what I do know is Jesus paid it all. No debt here. And so life is about living debt free.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the way to get there is to clear your debts and let go of the pain and the hurt and pay it forward. So I'm living debt free. I don't owe nobody nothing.
Yeah, you are. And now you don't
owe me anything. Couple banks or whatever,
you owed me this episode, but now you're good.
I'm good on this. See, I don't even know. I'm paid in full.
You're paid in full. Yeah. Thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you so much,
Chelsea, for having me. It has been an honor having you here and sharing with you, and I'm super excited about the future.
Yeah, I am too. I can't wait to host you in Los Angeles. It's nice as you guys hosted me in New Jersey.
We'll book it tonight.
Hey, you guys, thanks for tuning in. And wait for another episode of What's Your Water.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.